am so excited about today's video. I'm going to be ranking historical fiction books that I've read throughout pretty much my entire life. I'm actually going as far back as 2008 because that is when I began tracking my reading on Goodreads, but I didn't really read too many historical fictions before that. So we're gonna go from there. I'm very excited because we are talking about one of my favorite genres, okay? And I feel like it's y'all favorite genre too. And we have quite a few books to get through for this video, so no more talking. Let's get straight to the video. Now, before we get into the video, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you have not already, because this is what we do here. We talk about books, okay? So, first of all, let's get into the categories of the tier ranking. So, I wanted my categories to be very New York. Like, very New York, very Brooklyn. Like, I just, you know, that's what I want. You know, it needs to fit me, okay? So for the books that are at the very top, we're going to be putting those in the mad fire category, okay? These books are perfect in my opinion. You can't tell me nothing about them. I got no notes. They're perfect, okay? Okay, so then underneath that, we're going to have OD lit. I don't use this slang too much in my normal speech, but it fits for this video. OD lit, okay? Absolutely, these books are super good. You know, they're not fire, but they're very good. Like, they are as close to fire as you can get, okay? So underneath that, we're going to have valid. You know, it's valid. It's not something that I'm going to be shouting from the rooftop about, but it's a solid book. It's a completely solid book. Okay, underneath that, we're gonna have it's alright. It's exactly what it say. Okay, it's alright. It's nothing special about it. It's not memorable. I probably couldn't even tell you who the characters are. You know, that things of that nature, right? Okay, so underneath it's alright, we have dead ass mid. Y'all already know what that is. It's mid. It's probably a popular book, and I don't even know why it's just so popular. I'm just not seeing the vision, right? Okay, so underneath that we have the last tier, which is whose mans is this? And for those of you who don't know what that means, yo, like, who is this? Where did this book even come from? Why was it written? What is the meaning of this? Okay, that is whose mans is this? Okay, so let's get started. So these are not going to be in any particular order. Okay, so first up we have James by Percival Everett. Now y'all know I finished this book a few months ago. I absolutely loved it, and I feel like I want to put it in OD lit. This is subject to change because as of right now, as of right this second, I feel like it should be an OD lit. I love this book. It's so very good. I don't really have any notes about it, you know. I really don't. I read it. The writing is amazing. It was my first Percival Everett book. It definitely will not be my last. I know that this is somebody that I want to continue to pick up his books, especially as they come out, and especially because I own a lot of his books in my library. So we're gonna put that there for now. Okay, so next we have The Library Thief by Kuchinga Shinji. I would say it is valid, right? I would say it's valid because this is a historical fiction that I felt it had some elements that I've never read before. Like, I never read about a a black woman that was a bookbinder. I like that, right? But then, and then there's also some mysterious elements, right? But then there's also some things in this book that I'm not sure really needed to be in it. So it kind of just felt like kind of just throwing many things inside of this book to kind of make it a bit more robust, in my opinion. So I'm gonna say it's valid. I still think it's a book that is worth a read, but it's definitely not like a favorite of mine. Okay, so next we have Cane River by Lolita Tademi. This is a book that I absolutely love. When I read it, I just wanted more. Clearly, I didn't want that much more because I never did read the sequel. The sequel is called Red River, I think. Yes, Red River. I have it over there. But I also hear that that one is not as good as the first one. I absolutely love Cane River because this one it's like it has my favorite elements in it. It is a multi-generational saga following, you know, the women in this family. I love books like that. Absolutely love books like that. So for me, this one I have to put in the Mad Fire category because I don't have no notes. I closed that book and I felt like, man, that was something, you know? Like I felt so good about it. I really did. The next one is going to be Breath Eyes Memory by Edwidge Danticat. And y'all not gonna like this because I know people love Edwidge Danticat, but this was my first one by her, and I have to put this in the inside category because, you know, it was for me anyway. You know, it just felt okay. Like it didn't feel like anything that was groundbreaking. I don't even remember the character's name in this. Like it was just, you know, like it was just fine, you know. I'm definitely looking forward to reading some more books by her because, you know, I'm sure she's beloved for a reason. So I want to definitely see kind of, you know, what else she has out there that I might like. Okay, and next we have A Lesson Before Dying by Edward P. Jones. I absolutely freaking love this book. I'm gonna put this in OD Lit because it is a book that has definitely stuck with me over the years. I read this a few years ago, but it's a certain line in this book that you just can't forget. You know, you just can't forget. It's about a black man that is on death row, and his godmother has but his godmother has gotten this other black man who was a teacher to come and visit him at the prison and to teach him some stuff. Because at the beginning of this book, the prosecutor pretty much insinuates that the black man that's on trial, he pretty much insinuates that he is less than a man, that he is pretty much an animal. That does not sit very well with the godmother. She's like, no, you know, you are a man, you're a human, and you deserve to be treated as such, and you will hold your head high, you know. It's a book that I would definitely recommend to black men for reading. So, let's see what else. We have Sula by Toni Morrison, and I am definitely going to put that in the OD Lit category because it's OD Lit. I love Sula so much. It is one of the, I think it's the second book that I read by Toni Morrison, and I was like, okay, I get it now. Okay, I get it now. I see why she is the queen. This one is quite short as well, but it's definitely a shorty that packs a punch for sure. On the surface, it appears to just be a book about friendship, but this book is so much more. Like, it's way more than what it appears to be. The Spook Who Sat by the Door by Sam Greenlee. I am gonna have to put this book in Mad Fire, because this book was just, to me, this book was amazing. Like, this book is amazing as far as what it set out to do. And I believe that this book set out to put some fire underneath some black people's butts. It definitely put some fire underneath me. Okay? The way the black man in this book was moving. First of all, if you don't know what this book is about, really quick, because I have so many books to go through. This book is about a black man that infiltrates the CIA to learn all of their secrets and their tactics, and then he then goes out to the black community, to the gangs, and teaches them everything. For these black men to rise up together to fight the man. Alright, so next we have Itatuba, Black Witch of Salem by Maurice Condé. And I love this book, but I am fully aware that this book is not perfect. So I am going to put this book in the valid category, which kind of hurts me a little bit, because I do really like this book. But it's not perfect. It's got some things about it. It definitely does. But I will say that this book is based off of a real black woman. She was the first black woman that was accused of being a witch during the Winston-Salem witch trials. And for some reason, a lot of people don't even know about her. So, very important book for sure. The Street by Ann Petrie. Y'all already know where this is going. Y'all already know. Do I need to? Y'all already know it's going in Mad Fire, because chill. Y'all already know, because I love everything about that book. From the very first sentence to the very last sentence. That book is everything to me. And it's so crazy how you could just go your whole life and then you just read a book and it's like, yo, what was I doing all these years that I did not pick this book up? Like, I love that for me. Okay, so next we have The Darkest Child by, I believe, Dolores Phillips. I remember really loving this book, but I read it so long ago that I don't really remember all the details of it. I just remember there was a lot of trauma in this book, and I remember thinking that it was written very well. However, I have read so many books since reading this book. I'm definitely due for a reread, because I do want to know if I still really enjoy it. Well, it's hard to say you enjoy this book because there's so much freaking trauma in it, but I felt like, wow, that was a good book when I finished reading it. So we're gonna go off of old Kiona's thoughts. I did give it a 4-star on Goodreads, so we're gonna go with OD Lit. For now, we're gonna go with OD Lit. Okay? The next one, y'all gonna be mad. Y'all gonna be mad, but this didn't. Let me tell you, this next book, I can already see a piece of the cover, so I know what book it is. But this book just didn't. I didn't understand how, like, everybody was going crazy for it at one point, and I just had to read it. And when I read it, I was like, okay, the ending was like, okay, wow. But before that, I was just like, okay, like I wasn't, I just really wasn't as enthralled in the story as I should have been. Maybe because I'd read many other books with this same subject matter that have come out afterwards, and I feel like this may be the one that laid the foundation for this topic. But there's other ones that I personally enjoyed more. And that is going to be Passing by Nella Larson. And I'm going to put in It's Aight. I'm going to put that there. You know, the ending pretty much saves the book for me, but by the time I'm like, ooh, the book is over. It's the end, you know, the end. That's my only thing. But before that, I was just like, you know, it felt like there was some things that were super open-ended for me. I wanted some things to be addressed that did not get addressed. And yeah, that was bothering me. Okay, The Book of Night Women by Marlon James. Listen, I absolutely love this book. I love the writing in this book. I'm going to put this in Mad Fire. I want to put this in Mad Fire. Yes, I want to put this in Mad. I'm between Mad Fire and OD Lit. I don't want too many books in my Mad Fire category, but you know, listen, I love these. I love these books. Book of Night Women by Marlon James. That was my first Marlon James, and that is when I realized this man can write. Like, this man can write his ass off. Like, I feel like he is one of the authors that I would consider a master storyteller. I love the way he tells this story. Like, from the very beginning, I felt just pulled in, you know. The audiobook also does a very, very good job, especially like with the accents. It's just so good. The women in this book, they each have their own personality, and I love this book a lot. Okay, so next we have The Girl Who Fell from the Sky by Heidi W. Duro. I read this a long time ago. I am probably gonna put this in Isai because I didn't give it a very high rating on Goodreads, which means that it was just alright, because at the end of the day, I don't really remember anything from this book, so it's gonna definitely go in Isai. Love the cover though. Love the cover. Alright, so The Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. Listen, I don't understand why people love this book to this day. I do not understand it. I was bored to tears. I even attempted to watch the TV show because I had gotten I got invited to watch an advanced screening of it. I fell asleep on the damn TV show. Okay, because I was just thinking, oh, you know what? Maybe the TV show was going to really, you know, bring it home for me. When I tell you I was bored, I was so bored. You got to be super bored to shut off a damn screening that you ain't even pay for. Like, imagine how bored you had to be. Like, I was just like, I'm over this. Like, I'm sick of it. It's going in Whose Mans Is This? For sure. Absolutely, because Whose Mans Is This book? Because it's boring. It is so boring. And every time I see that somebody loves this book, I just really want to know, like, but like, why? Like, what part did you like about it? And it's mad long. On top of that, it's boring and it's long. So, you know, by the time I finished, I was pissed. Like, I was just legit pissed. Okay, so next we have Glory Over Everything by Kathleen Grissom. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed this book. This is book 2. This is book 2 in this series. The first book is called The Kitchen House, which I also really enjoyed. Now, this is a series written by a white woman. There's black characters, you know, there's slavery involved, and you know, that can be a bit tricky. Could definitely be a bit tricky. I would definitely have to give it a reread. So I'm going to put it in valid. Okay, so the next one we have is The Girls by Emma Cline. This book is about a cult. And I like books about cults. I feel like there are things that I liked about this one, and then there are things that were a little foggy for me, right? So I'm going to, I think I'm going to put this one in its eye, because it's like half and half, you know, so I'm not sure that I love more things than the things that I didn't like, if that makes sense. Okay, so now we have Homegoing by Yajasi. Y'all know that I absolutely love this book. This is another one that I would absolutely love to reread to see how I feel about it now that I've read so many historical fiction novels since reading this one. But for now, in my brain, it belongs in Madfire. So the next one is going to be The Nyx by Nathan Hill. Okay, so this one, y'all know I like this book. I really, really enjoyed this book, and I'm definitely going to put it in OD Lit. I really enjoyed this book. I mean, what a story. What a freaking story, okay? Okay, so the next one is going to be Dread Nation by Justina Ireland. Yeah, so this one is a YA historical fiction novel, but there's also some horror in it as well. I remember being really, really excited for this one, but when I read it, I was just like, oh, okay. I just wasn't a fan. Like, I'm not gonna put it in whose man's is this, because I could see like why it was written, and I guess there's an audience for it. So I'm gonna just put it in dead ass mid. Cause it didn't do anything for me. Like, it just didn't do anything for me. This was a book where you have obviously it's during you know, it's back in the day, so you have these black people, but what the black people are doing is they are the ones that are fighting off the zombies to protect the white people. I mean, interesting premise, but it ain't do nothing for me. And then in this next one, y'all gonna be mad again. The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. I'm oh God. Make sure you give this video a like. Because this is a super popular book, but it just didn't work for me. I was so bored. Like, I was so bored. Granted, this is another one where I read it a really long time ago. I read many books since then. Maybe I need to revisit it, but I'm so afraid of being bored to tears again. The Underground Railroad, I'm gonna put it in dead ass mid, cause yeah, okay. Let's move on. So the next one is gonna be The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, at the time when I read this book, I liked it. I liked it at the time. But then, you know, when you have some time to sit with a book, compare it against some other ones, you know, I'm just gonna say it's alright. You know, it's nothing groundbreaking for me. I see a lot of people read this book all the time. It's super popular. And my thing is always like, but there's so many other ones you could be reading. Okay, well, at least this person's reading, right? It's alright. I'll put it there. Because at the time, it was, you know, I wasn't bored. We'll say that. I wasn't bored. Okay, so Pachinko by Minjin Lee. I'm gonna put that in OD Lit. I absolutely love that book, but there's one little thing in that book that just didn't sit right with me. So I can't put it in the fire category. The fire category is reserved for those that are absolutely perfect. I got no notes. Mic drop. Okay, I got nothing to say. But Pachinko, OD lit. I love this book down. Highly recommended. Multi-generational saga. I love it. Now, Native Son by Richard Wright. This book I don't talk about often because I remember reading it and it just made me so mad. Like, I don't know if I felt that type of rage while reading the book and after I finished the book. I just felt such rage. And I felt such rage specifically for Black women. Okay, if you read the book, then you probably know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, you're probably like, what Black woman? But there is a Black woman who is a character in this book, and I just have such a problem with the way she was handled in this novel. And I know that it's not real, but it just didn't sit right with me. Okay, so many things about this book did not sit right with me, but it just made me angry that such a book existed. I will say that it is definitely written well. I could see why some people love it, but I hated it. If that makes sense. I hated that it existed, but I understood why it was written. If that makes any sense whatsoever. I'm going to put it invalid. Because it is valid. It is valid. But it angered me. This is my anger. My angry fist. Okay, In West Mills by Deshaun Winslow. I love this book so much. I love like a small town, secrets, drama, mess. I love it. Love it. Eat it up every time. And this is definitely one of those type of books. So it's definitely going in OD lit because, yeah, I love it. The next one is going to be The Revisioners by Margaret Wilkinson Sexton. I love this book as well. Like, I've recommended this book many, many times. This is another multi-generational saga. The only reason why I can't put this in Mad Fire is because I do wish that this book was longer. I feel like if this book was like longer and more robust and we were able to kind of sit with the characters much longer, I would feel way more I guess invested. Like I would just feel more like, oh yes, like I got everything that I needed to get from these characters. Whereas I feel like these characters have more to give, if that makes sense. So it's gonna go in OD lit. Okay. I read a lot of good historical fiction. I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that. Okay, the next one is gonna be The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi. I love this book. I love it. I love this book. This is book 1 in the trilogy, and I really enjoyed this book so much. It's definitely going to go on OD lit because I recommend that book any chance I get. It was such a surprise for me. I didn't know what to expect, but I loved it. I loved it. It's very much out of the box. It's unlike any historical fiction I've ever read. And I now want to travel to Jaipur. I would love to go to Jaipur just because I read this book and where's my flight? Yes, for sure. How Beautiful We Were by Mbolu Mbui. Definitely OD lit. I love this book so much. I love the way it's written. I love the fact that in this fictional African town there is a POV of the children who live in this town. Very creative. I love that so very much. Okay, The Rib King by Ladie Hubbard. No, I didn't. I didn't jive with this. I mean, it had some boring parts. It had some parts that, like, it just, I felt like when I was reading this, I felt like I was just reading a read, which is terrible to say, but it's true. Like, this one just did not work for me. Like, I wanted her to come stronger because I wanted to love this book so much. I really, really did. I gotta put it in dead ass mid. I'm sorry. I hate that for me. Okay, so what else do we have? Clearly I read a lot of OD lit books. Okay, so The Yellow Wife by Sadika Johnson. I love this book. Who doesn't love The Yellow Wife by Sadika Johnson? I love it. I love this book so much. Definitely putting that in OD lit. I love that book from the beginning to the end. It was definitely very hyped. So I thought that the book would be perfect. The book is not perfect in my opinion, but it is very good. I definitely fell in love with Sadika Johnson's writing. And you'll see that she has another book on this list that I picked up. Okay, The Great Mrs. Elias by Barbara Chase Ribbaud. I like the premise of this book. This book is about a black woman a real black woman, by the way, who back in the day pretty much became a millionaire by owning a lot of real estate in New York. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Never heard of this person until I read this book, which is another thing that I absolutely love about historical fiction. I mean, teach me something. You know, you don't be getting this in these other genres. This, I love that about historical fiction. Now, I liked some things about this book, right? But then there's some middle areas where it gets a little boring. It gets a little just monotonous. At one point I was feeling like, can we just move on? You know, I felt like we were just harping on a situation. Like, a situation happened and it was just going on for too long. Like, I wanted it to continue. Now, it could be because that's the way it really happened. But, you know, at the end of the day, we're reading a fictionalized story. And I just wanted it to just keep it moving, right? I am going to put it in even though I have recommended this book before, because I feel like it's an important book. And yeah, people should read it. You know, just because I felt a little bored at times, I didn't feel bored the entire time. You know, there's some parts of this book where I was at the edge of my seat, okay? Because I was like, oh, okay. Oh, they are not played. This woman is not to be played with. That's how I was feeling. I loved the parts where we were getting to know this woman, Mrs. Elias. I love that part because she was a bad bitch, okay? The next one we have is A Woman of Endurance by Dalma Llanos Figueroa. This is another book where I feel this book is highly important, okay? This is a book regarding slavery in Puerto Rico. Never read a book about this before. I was highly intrigued to read it, and there are parts of this book that I really enjoyed, but then there are also a lot of parts of this book where I just felt like we weren't going anywhere. It was turning into kind of like day to day, and I'm not a big fan of books that are just like day to day, like the next day, and then they did this, and then, you know, like, we're following a woman that is enslaved, and she's been through a lot. She's been through terrible things. There is a lot of trigger warnings in this book, so make sure you check that out if you decide to pick up this book. But yes, We are getting a lot of her trauma. Most of this book is just a lot of that. And then when it seems like she maybe gets settled, then it kind of becomes like a day-to-day type of thing. Like what she's doing, what are her duties and stuff like that. And I found those parts to be a bit boring. So the first half, okay, I liked. And then we get towards the second half, and then I just wasn't as engaged in it, you know. But people love this book. So, you know, you take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, you know. I'm going to put this in It's Alright. Okay, so the next one we have is Carolina Built by Kiana Alexander. This one also was a huge disappointment for me because this is another book that is based off of a real black woman in history, and this one is about a woman that also owned a lot of real estate down south at a time where black women didn't own anything. And I wanted to know a lot about that. I was hoping that this book would be a lot about that and her business endeavors and things of that nature. What this book actually is a little bit of her business endeavors and a whole lot of her drama with her husband. Now, I wasn't expecting that. It's a lot of marital drama in this book, and I was really put off because I was just like, I ain't picked this book up for that. I was not in the mood for no marital drama, okay? I was just not. I thought I was getting a nice wholesome historical fiction. Like, that's what I thought I was getting. I'm gonna have to put it in It's Alright because, oh, sorry, not valid. It's Alright. Okay. Greenland by David Santos Donaldson. This book is another one. It's a lot of books where it starts off really good, or the premise is so good, and then I go into it and I'm like in, right? And then towards the middle to the end, it just fizzles out. Like it just fizzles out, and I don't know. Okay, so Greenland, this is about a guy who is a writer, and he is under deadline, and he is in a basement in Brooklyn. He's in a basement in Brooklyn. He has a gun, and he is trying to write his book. Okay, and his book is about the late writer E.M. Forster and his black lover. Okay, that's what the book he's writing is about. So we are reading a book within a book, which sounds great, right? It sounds great. And I love everything that is going on in this Brooklyn basement. He's locked the door. He's like, I'm getting this book done. Anybody come in, I'm shooting them. Nah, I don't remember if he actually said that, but he definitely had a gun. He definitely had a gun, like he was going to use it, right? Everything is great while he's in his basement. The book is trippy as hell. Know that. It's as trippy as the damn cover. Now, when he is no longer in this basement, I'm not going to say why. When he's no longer in his basement for the second half of this book, it loses all of its magic for me. Like, that's when it goes, like, I needed him to continue in this basement, clearly, because that is weird. Like, oh, you know, he was telling us his story. He's talking about his friends. He's talking about how he ended up in this basement. Like, everything was going great. Like, I was just like, yeah, what else? Like, I was with him. And then it, you know, for the second half, it just goes downhill for me. I'm gonna have to put this in It's Alright. I'm gonna have to. I got to.